Okay, so I hope you're all able to see my screen. And I want to give introduction about myself and what my credibility is and what kind of work I've done so far to give this training. So my name is Shravan, and I've been doing mentorship from more than 12 years. And in an era of cloud computing, I'm doing both of trainings, mentorships, and career roadmaps, and a lot of stuff I do. And at the same time, I have a 14 years of enterprise experience, which I started initial my career with Linux and virtualization, and worked for a telecom domain across the globe. And later on, I moved to Cisco. Then there I spent good quality amount of time to design data center and cloud-based solutions based on VMware, OpenStack, and public cloud solutions to be hosted on. Then I've been started the organization on my own. There is security and data center infrastructure for global leading banks and financial segments. And from last 5 years, I'm doing cloud DevOps consultant for major organizations across US, Canada, and Middle East, Australia, and different countries. And I'm very much passionate about training and mentorship. So I've done more than 2,000 plus professionals trained, and one of the biggest factor of my way of training is as soon as people have been done with the training, from the day one they should able to be deployable. What does it mean is they can do job from the day one on the cloud, irrespective of whether they have been to cloud training or whether they have been doing VMware training or whether they take DevOps training, any training, or what they take. I will make them to start working from the day one, so that they don't feel whether whatever they're learning on this training can be applicable in enterprise. They do not have such questions. Whatever I teach in the training, you are going to see almost 99% accuracy same thing in the enterprise. So the 1% varies based on the organization to organization, and policies, factors. There is a lot of other things can come in place at 1%. And what I love, I do travel a lot in different cities, different states, different countries, in terms of business and in terms of business related activities. And I do mentoring people across the globe. And these are some of the picks. I do consulting work for different organizations, and I do a lot of seminars across the board. In the right side, if you see that, along with me, Infosys director, we have been given a lot of seminars across different universities and colleges. And as give back in society, as I mentioned, I give and I help a lot of freshers in the university level for them to acquire a lot of cloud knowledge and enterprise knowledge. Because if you look at in today's education, most of our cultural parties, education is quite different than your real time. So we are trying to bridge that gap mostly. And along with that, we are helping a lot of schools, and even you may thought about what we do with the schools. But the challenge is even from the kids level itself, we want to influence that, and we want to set up the standard. So we are acquisitions are happening for some of the schools across the state here, and we are trying to set up some of the norms and standards, and we want to really contribute for country future, especially on the education segment. So this is what all about myself. And anything, if you have questions, as I mentioned, you can really be talking about the questions. And if you are good, and I'm going to start about important thing, what you're going to get about from this training. I hope you got a chance to look at this slide. And this thing is I want to give you a very high level overview, what you're going to expect this training and how deep dive we are going to dig into this about this training over the course of next 5 weeks. And I'll directly jump into it. If you look at Amazon, why you guys need to learn Amazon, and you may have some questions. Why not an Azure, or why not OpenStack, why not VMware, or why not some other cloud provider? One among the biggest reason is because since I'm following this cloud from almost close to a decade, and AWS is one of the public cloud provider, especially having a lot of strength and capabilities to give you proper solutions. And what I can say is, if you know the AWS and if you learn the AWS, then remaining clouds will become so much easier for you because AWS set standards on this. So in a benchmarking, if you know the AWS, the remaining clouds will be much easier for you. There's no doubt about it. And I'm considering these sessions to have more discussion oriented. At the same time, I want to start from the scratch because some of the people in the sessions have very few or they don't have knowledge on cloud. So I want to start from the scratch and I want to take you to the next level of how you can say an intermediate or you can say an advanced. So for that reason, I'm going to start from very basics of what is cloud computing and how your infrastructure has been evolved from the decades and how your virtualization technologies help to achieve in the current state. So that's what all about module 1. And when you come to the module 2, it is all about how we are going to start about Amazon Web Services and how AWS is helping the customers or how business is leveraging AWS to build their business. Such kind of strategic planning and migration planning. We are going to deep dive into the module 2. And in module 3, we are going to discuss starting about the compute service, which is in traditional language is called you may call as a server, or you can call as a hosting, or you can call as a VM, or whatever you call. So in cloud language, what it called, we are going to discuss at the same time how Amazon is offering you different compute services in the segment of public cloud. And if you observe in this course content, most of the modules have a case study. This case study will really help you to understand how enterprise or how in real time people are organized or adopting the cloud, and if it's been already adopted, how they have been transitioning or how they have been operationalizing their cloud. You will get a full-placed knowledge on that. So as much as I can, I try to add case studies wherever possible for each of the modules so that you will get much exposure on how enterprise has been behaving. And after module 3, you will have a module 4. In module 4, we are going to deep dive into your compute services, how multi-tenant structure can come into place and how your lifecycle will help you, or how you can secure your workloads, And from here on, you are going to have a full hands-on. I'm going to make you at least tens of hands-on for each of these modules. And we are going to have a major capstone project wherever is needed. So if you look at the capstone project, it's kind of a major project. And we are going to do the project. And once you crack it, definitely you feel comfortable on working on AWS much more simpler, much more easier. And once you're done with module 4, and in module 5, we are going to discuss about storage. And in storage, it's more about a lot of common in a layman language to store any data. You may not need a storage, but in cloud or even in traditional technologies, you really need to know what kind of storage technology you need to use, when to use, what storage, what to use. Let's say, give an example. If you want store and if you want to be very handy about the storage, you may carry a USB drive or you may carry a micro SD card, right? So if you want to store terabytes of data or petabytes of data, then you may need to carry a sequence of hard disk. Or if you want to store hard disk data with more reliable, then you may go with enterprise storage. So based on your requirement and based on your scenario, you get to use different kind of storage. So that's what module 5 is going to give you an overview. And in module 6, you're going to get lab time. So here we are going to do most of your labs which belongs to the storage. And even in lab 6, if you look at, we are going to cover most of your troubleshooting time also. That means I want you guys to help in another way. I want to help you guys if something goes wrong, how to fix it. Because in regular trainings, what happens is they may train you how to create, how to delete, how to implement, or how to architect, or how to design. But most of the issues will come into place. How to troubleshoot may not be covered as part of your regular trainings. But I would like to add this troubleshooting part also as part of this training, so that if you have been really in operations, if something goes wrong, or if you're getting some error, or if you have been facing some issues, really you'll get a clue about where to start, how to start, and where to look at. So that's the motto, one of the motto of this training sessions. So wherever is required, I added troubleshooting time for that. And in module 7 is more about the elastic storage, elastic file system. This also we are going to do a capstone project, and of course we are going to do a troubleshooting time on this. And module 8 is about other type storage, like an object storage, which is S3 we call simple storage service. And here also we are going to have a lab time and troubleshooting session. And module 9 is about the storage gateway. Here in this, we are going to discuss detailing of how, if you want to build a hybrid solutions for your cloud, or if you want to have a migration strategy for your data, those kind of things here we are going to speak about. And module 10, how do you provide your security by using a different objectives, or if different, what you can say as a way of policies or best practices. That's the module 10 we are going to discuss. And of course, we are going to have a lab time and troubleshooting for even for security. And module 11 is one of the critical, is among, of course, reminding all are being important, but this is most critical because this is the backbone of your AWS, what I can say, which is the VPC. So here we are going to do a deep dive about your VPC, and we are going to have a very good lab on this. And of course, we are going to spend so much time on the troubleshooting session. And module 12 is all about the databases, module 12 and module 13. And here we're going to talk about databases and their capabilities, how you can set up availability, and how you can backup, how you can restore, how you can replicas. These are all things in detailing we are going to talk about databases. And module 14 is about networking. This is also one of the concepts, which is the Route 53. This is also has been much useful if you want to set up kind of a DR, or if you want to set up more availability for your application using networking feature, then you can use Route 53. That's what we are going to discuss about module 14. And module 15, because so far till module 14 you are going to learn most of the services, but from module 15 here we will learn some of the services where you can build design of your workloads, keeping in mind availability and scaling and reliability and optimization, all that. So for all that, you're going to learn a number of services for this to have solution oriented. And module 16 is all about the applications and analytics and other services which AWS is providing for us, and the detailing is there. And module 17 is one of the biggest projects. That means we'll try to use as much as services what you have been learned till module 16, which we can use in module 17. And additional and bonus sessions also I'm going to cover, which is the cloud migration strategies. What are the things you have to consider for migration, and what kind of tools you have to use. And you have a 3-step migration approach, and there is a different kind of approaches. One among the best is a 3-step migration approach. So in this module 18 is more about additional sessions and bonus lectures, and it definitely might help you if you're really been becoming an architect role, and if you want to serve your customers to build real cloud migration strategies, then definitely the module 18 is going to help you a lot. Okay, and as I mentioned, so I'll try to do as much as lab oriented as much as possible, because wherever the theory is required and wherever I feel you need to know some of the theory oriented modules, there I've been presented that. Otherwise, most of the modules I try to include both labs and projects and troubleshooting sessions. So this all three will give you really plenty of hands-on for you to think different, and for you to present yourself quite different. And obviously, after completing the session, this complete training, definitely you should be able to design some of the solutions as per your need. So I'll just give you a couple of minutes time for you guys. If you have any questions, you can put it in a Q&A, or else if you want to talk with me on any certain things, you can raise your hands so that I can allow you to talk, and we can talk and we can go further. So I'll give you just a couple of minutes for that. Please put your Q&A. If not, we should be good to go. Okay, so I haven't received any questions so far. So hoping everybody is able to follow me on this. So let me start my first objective for today. Okay, so most of the people, or even some of you might need be looking after completing this training. You want to attend interviews. Might be you are looking for a cloud operations guy, or you have been applying for a cloud architect role, or you are applying for cloud engineer role. Whatever role in cloud, especially with AWS. So how interview looks like, and I don't want to reveal and spoil the your enthusiasm for this, but why I want to show you at starting of the session. One of the reason is I would like to set up the expectation for you guys how this training usually it will be. It is not a plain question answer type, and I don't want anyone of in the session to go through saying that okay, what is AWS, or people will ask what is storage. You don't want expect. Of course, if somebody asks, you may need to answer that, but please expect deep dive questions, and you should be able to answer those questions. So that will really help you to achieve whatever you want in terms of the training aspect. Okay, so I will show you a couple of questions. Of course, I'm going to share this with you after this training, and and of course, in last, I'm going to have some kind of mock interviews for you to run through. But I'll just give you a couple of things. Dumb approach to AWS interviews. What usually happens is people feel that okay, if I read dumps, or if I read Google, or if I read some certain questions and interview, or some quotations in Google, I can crack interview. Of course, some people might crack. I don't deny that as a true, but most of the people cannot crack only because of that. Reason, when you're learning any new technology, try to understand the detailing of it. So, and at the same time, you cannot expect the interviewer to be asked these silly questions or minimal basic questions. So what we say is, if you really know the enterprise standards, and if you really know how enterprise really works in cloud or any other technology by that matter, and then definitely you can crack any interview. That's my personal experience and personal motto for you to meet that. So what we can follow is, like, of course, you have to choose your mentor wisely, and as much as we are in the sessions, definitely I'm going to help you. Of course, post sessions also, if you need any help, I can definitely step up for you to help. And the question was just to give, right? So what are the services you are comfortable in AWS apart from EC2 and S3? Some people might ask this question. It's an example. Most of people say X, Y, Z, and there might be an answer. And I would not say this is the exact 100% right answer, but if you give this elaborate answer, then definitely interviewer will like you, because the reason is you are not giving a one more answer, because you are not anymore a school student or a college student. You are not a graduate student now. You are being experienced, and people expect you to answer in an experienced manner. So that's why when you give detailing of what you've been known to any of the services, in a detailing concept, then definitely people will understand you have been much experienced. And I'll just jump to one of important, see, this is one of the odd question you might see. Have you faced any recent challenges while working with AWS? So people can ask that, okay, have you faced any challenges in the current development, or people have any challenges while you're doing in current role? People can ask, but you, when you are saying that, don't directly jump into your say that, okay, to when I'm writing that XYZ code, I got this issue, or when I'm troubleshooting XYZ issue, you got that issue, or you are able to resolve that issue. Rather than, you should able to articulate appropriately in terms of when you're seeing the challenges or issues. If you look at how I want to present to the interviewer is, like, I had a challenges, but the challenges in a different way. One is while I'm doing the migration, other one is while I'm into operation, other one is while I'm being monitoring. So at different stages, I have different challenges. So with this, people understand you have been well explored and you are been well experienced in cloud. At the same time, any technology by that matter. So you really need to narrow and try to give the brief answer so that people will trust you really have an experienced and what they've been looking at. And how does RDS differ than own DB, and when to choose RDS? These kind of questions arise when you have multiple options, isn't it? Just imagine when you're going for a shopping. Okay, you want to buy a T-shirt, and you want to buy uh, anything, like what you've been suited for. If you have multiple brands and if you have multiple colors, if you have multiple options, it's really been difficult for you. Then what you nail down with your questions. What I needed. I need a T-shirt, or I need a shirt, or need a treasure, or what I needed. Then which brand I need it, what budget I have it, then what color I need, then you're going to filter it out your options, you come up with your requirement. That's exactly happens when you have multiple options. This is where this kind of question is on the same segment. When you have multiple options, people might ask, okay, among RDS, why can't we choose our own database server? Among DB, or why can't I have a RDS? When you're doing that, then if you are able to articulate your answer appropriately by considering the lot of factors what you've been really choose. Like if you look at here, I told that I will consider some of the considerations like an HA, high availability, backup and recovery, security, patching, and skill set availability, licensing, costing, model. This are all. When I say this, what happens is the interviewer can really trust us and say that what experience we have it. And you can ask me that, okay, Shravan, will it really covers the complete training? This all might not have a training, licensing and costing. Of course, we'll speak about about the costing and licensing. It's not like that, okay, EC2 how much cost, or S3 is how much cost, and this cost, this. We may not ask for the cost of each of every service for each of every resources, because that's a tedious process. Rather, put it the standard or follow the best practices, and that will really, because nobody is going to ask you, okay, what is your cost for an EC2? No, that's a stupid question. Nobody is going to ask you, because that cost is not consistent, and it can keep on change based on number of hours you run, number of days you run, number of months you run, and again, any kind of agreement you have with AWS. There is a lot of factors that price, so that people really not bothered about the costing of each resource. Cost optimization they will care. They might ask about, okay, how do you optimize cost for an EC2 example, or how do you optimize cost for your complete AWS resources? Optimization is different than your costing factor, right? So I would expect, while completing after completing this session, you should able to answer this kind of questions very thoroughly. And what I can set an expectation for you is, from today, whenever you have been any session is going on, don't directly or don't look at only in abbreviation manner. Go deep dive into it. So definitely that will help you to achieve to become your architect. Okay. Any questions, guys, so far? If anybody have any questions, please put down in Q&A. I'm happy to answer for you. Okay, assuming no questions. So if you don't have any questions, so what I would like to conclude about this questionnaire is, you know, I want you to give a fair understanding about what kind of knowledge you're going to acquire or possess during this 5 week or 6 week sessions, and don't target for only for your interview, or don't target for only to get a certification. And if in a poll, if you see that you have one of the question, what is your objective for this training, and in that answers are like, somebody had AWS certification to achieve, or somebody want to get a higher salary, or somebody want to move from one domain to other domain. Somebody of course kept all of the above. Yeah, as I mentioned, like whoever kept all of the above, that's the way to go, and I really appreciate that. And try to keep all the aspects while I'm going through, because I'm going to talk in detail as much as we needed. Okay, so please keep an eye on every aspect, and any questions anytime, please post it. So with that concluding, I'm going to start session now, and what is with the start of module 1. I hope everybody can hear me. Sorry about that. It seems I lost my voice. I just changed my headphone. So if you're able to hear me, please ping me in chat. Please just say, am I audible? Please, if you say, just say it's audible in the chat. Okay, great. Okay, let me start with cloud computing basics, guys. What does exactly mean is, so a lot of you may heard about this cloud computing word from not less than 5 to 6 years if you've been following market, because it became so much of buzzword in IT industry, and for that matter, even in non-IT industries, also hearing cloud computing a lot. The reason is, one of the reason for them is, cost efficient, or whatever they call, cost optimization or cost reduction, or capex reduction. There's a lot of names for that. So why it became so much of important, and at the same time, why so much of people are caring about it? Okay, so let's see how this cloud and architects of an IT has been evolved so far. Now, when keeping in mind, what is the cloud computing? Now, to give a very high level overview, for me, when I'm doing graduation, there was a subject called networking and, computer networks. And in that, there is a topic called cloud computing. If you have been, some of you have been IT or ECE, or some branch, definitely you could have been heard that chapter, like subject called cloud computing. But it was been designed at least 2 decades before or 3 decades before. But today, is it cloud computing is same? That's the first question I get personally when I heard about a cloud computing. Because if I remember that cloud computing definition is all about, if
you are able to access either compute, storage, network, database, or applications over internet, it's called a cloud computing. I'm just reiterating the definition. What book has taught me is, if you're able to access compute, storage, or network, or database, or application over an internet, then it is called a cloud computing. Okay. Now, well, come to that, like, is it only limited to computing world? And recently, not recently, maybe a couple of months been, when I read a news in Delhi, India, Delhi, they were been serving chai as a service. Okay, what does it mean is, they are leveraging cloud computing as a concept, and they are serving tea as a service across Delhi, chai wala. So like this, nowadays, I can see that in a world, there's a lot of people are coming up. Let's say if you look at an example of Book My Show. Book My Show is providing you a cloud computing in another way. How it is, they're providing you movie tickets as a service. And IRCTC, train tickets as a service. Red bus tickets as a service. And if you look at, everybody is going into service-oriented mode. So for me, in today's world, cloud computing is nothing but, if you are able to provide any service over internet, it's called cloud computing. It's not anything limited to only an IT anymore. It is beyond that. So if you are able to provide any service over internet, it's called cloud computing, to keep it very simple. Okay. So one of the basic thing of cloud computing, factor, or, thing we consider is pay-as-you model. We call it characteristics of cloud. So what is a pay-as-you model? Why it has become so much of buzz? The reason, let me tell you guys, when you want to buy a laptop, or when you want to buy something, right, a land or house or whatever it is, are you really buying everything upfront, or are you really buying whenever you want? What does that mean is, let's say that even you are buying a laptop configuration with 8 GB RAM, with 500 GB hard disk, with i7 processor, that's an example. So from the day one when you bought this laptop, will you really know that, are you going to consume all the resources? Not really, because 500 GB on the day one, you're not going to consume. i7 processor, complete processing cycles, you're not going to consume. And 8 GB memory, you are not going to consume. You may be using partial amount of those resources, but here the point you need to make a note is, you are paying up everything upfront, but you may be consuming down the line of an year or months or whatever it is. So if you consider those idle resources, who is sitting idle, right, which you are not been consuming, even though you paid for it. In enterprise, if you see those resources are huge, and those resources entity cost is much bigger value, billions of dollars. So that's where this cloud computing came in place and said that, okay, you need not to pay anything upfront. Okay, only pay when you use it. So that triggers the bell for a lot of organizations, and that converts into the business language. And now people says that cloud computing, if you want to be run, or if you want to adopt, you don't need capex, and cloud computing will convert your capex into opex. So who don't know what is capex and opex, I'll give you a brief. Capex means capital expenditure. It is like an investment for your business. Okay. And opex is an operational expenditure, which is needed to run your business. Okay. That means, for example, when you're buying your laptop, that initial investment is your capex, and the warranty cost or AMC which you bought for that laptop will become an opex. Okay. So in cloud, what happens is, this completely you're removing that capex and you're converting your capex into opex, so that you can save a lot of money upfront. And I will give you simple characteristics for you, and simple statistics for you over 5 years. And I'm talking about before 2010, IT is there. IT is not new for any country, or at least most of the developed countries and development countries. And if you take it as a factor, before 2010, startups were there, but very little, very few companies are being established in IT segment or in any segment. But if you observe from 2012, 2013 or 2014, there's a tremendous growth in number of companies that have been setting up, especially startups. The reason why is, before 2010, if any IT company want to set up, they need a capital investment heavily, because they need servers, they need infrastructure, they need setting all the cost for it. But when you look at after post cloud computing come into place, a lot of companies are been coming like mushrooms. The reason why is because they don't need any more much heavy weighted capex anymore. Capital investment, they don't need it. They need an opex because they pay only as they go, as they grow, right? So that gives majority stake for most of the companies to adopt the cloud computing. And later on, cloud computing initially thought it's only good for startups or mid-level companies, but later on, even enterprises, kind of big companies, realized that what is the benefits of cloud computing. Okay, it's not only about money anymore, because people are not looking only as an investment. Using cloud computing, you can achieve a lot more things, like self-service. I'll give you one more classic example for you guys. I'm talking about almost like 15 years ago, I think so. If you want to book your train ticket, how do you used to do? You used to have to go to reservation counter, and you have to pick up the form, and you have to write your details, and your requirement, and your preferences of berth seats, and and you have to wait in a queue, and you have to wait for your turn to hand off your piece of form to the ticket creator, or whatever you call it, right? But now, what happening if you want to book a train ticket? Is anyone's going? Of course, people are going maybe on tier 3 or tier 4 villages, but at least in tier 1, most of us been using IRCTC, because they are providing train tickets as a service. That means service oriented model has been picked up a lot, and it reduced a lot of time and efforts. By sitting anywhere, we can book the ticket. But 15 years ago, that's not the case. That's exactly cloud computing is benefiting for a lot of companies. So we are going to talk about a lot of other things, what characteristics are being really looking at by big companies. Okay. Next is advantages of cloud computing, and one of it is reduced cloud technology, cost of your technologies, and increased storage, and highly automated flexibility, mobility, allows IT to shift focus. There's a lot of more advantages of a cloud while you are in journey of adopting. Definitely, you will get to know all this, because most of the people who are in this seminar or in webinar, you are being somewhat experienced in different domains. Maybe you are all are part of IT, but different. Some are developers, some are storage admins, some are Linux admins, some are Windows admins. There are different parties are there. While we are doing this AWS course, you will realize that what is your traditional way of doing some things and how the cloud has been changed that. Okay, and this is the typical IT environment looks like. And sorry for the developers, I haven't kept any development team here. This is mostly from infra, been focused for it. Now if you look at business team is there, then IT planning, and then you have a management team, and then you have a compute team, network team, storage team, and you have a development team, and there's different teams has been segregated, and every team have their own accountability, every team is their own ownership, and of course every team have their own set of responsibilities. But when coming to the cloud, it's no more your silo teams. Silo teams means there is no more, if you say that I'm only a storage admin, nobody is going to care you. If you say that I'm only a developer, people are not going to care you. If you say that I'm only manages Linux, people are not going to care us. So what people are expecting today is a multi-skilled environment and multi-skilled person. That means in a more or less, people are expecting you to know development, know cloud. People are expecting you to know how DevOps works. Those are all people are being expected. So why people are being expectations has been changing. The reason is not only about the cloud. The people are being becoming such easy to do the job. And they realize that, okay, if I give this job, this guy can complete in 1 hour, remaining 8 hours, what they will do? That coming into the factor, and they are trying to give you dump more responsibility for us. Of course, there is the other side of the coin is also there, but in India and even some of the countries, definitely we are bound to rules of what we need to follow. And if this is the IT infrastructure, how it's been evolved. The traditionally, people used to talk about hardware, or operating system, server, and application sitting on top of it. And later on, virtualization came into place, and there also hypervisor came into place, and application and plays a vital role. And today's world, people are talking about container world, and it is completely process isolation. Initially it is shared, then it is system isolated, then now it is a process isolated. So all these are been different technologies, different use cases, and different way people have been presenting it and adopting it. And all of this, you can ask me that, okay, Shravan, all this comes under cloud. It might or it might not, based on your use case, as simple as that. Because if you're coming from traditional IT infrastructure side, definitely it makes more sense for you, because definitely it will definitely help you to troubleshooting the issues when something goes wrong, especially in the performance oriented. Got it? So any questions, guys? Okay, if assuming there are no questions, I haven't got any questions, fair enough. So if that is the case, I'm going to start the references. Now, people might ask you, in cloud, what kind of reference models are there, how people have been starting adopting it. And one of the important debate or discussion we have to do is really cloud computing for everybody? Okay, this question I personally asked myself almost more than 7 years ago, I think so. And of course, fortunately, I found answer myself how it can be. So with my experience now, I'm going to share you how this cloud computing is for everybody. So before jumping into that, I'll really set up something crazy metrics for you. What the crazy metrics is, just look at let me ask this question for you. You might heard about big data. You might heard about, you need not to know that. I'm just saying an example of, you might heard about it. You might heard machine learning. You might heard about artificial intelligence. You might heard a lot of IoT or IoE. So when you heard about all this, have you ever thought, is any one of this technology suits everybody? If you ask me same question, I will say no. Reason, if I say an example of SAP cannot be adoptable by every company because the costing model is very huge. Only big companies can start adopting it. And if you ask me big data, the same thing. You should have such a data to implement your big data analytics and thing. And can I need an IoT for everybody? May or may not. Like this, any technology have their own customers. Like if you look at Mercedes-Benz, can Mercedes-Benz will buy by everybody? Not really. Mercedes-Benz have its own customers, and Maruti Suzuki have its own customers, and Ford have its own customers. Like this, everybody have their own customers. So the question comes up is, how cloud computing then is can suit for everybody? Okay, then the question answered in such a way is, cloud computing is not a technology, it's a framework. Because the framework can be molded as you need it. Based on your customer, we can mold cloud as your own reconduit. So if I want, like say that, okay, Shravan, I'm in banking industry. My data cannot be processed outside. So now how cloud computing can help me? Then I might say that, okay, if you are being rules with ISO 27000, or if you are PCI compliant, or you are IFA compliant, or if you are if you need to adhere to some complaints, then host your own private cloud. Then somebody come and ask me that, okay, Shravan, if I want to save a lot of money on my cloud, what I do? Then I'll say that, okay, if you want to save money in respect of any either complaints, then you go for a public cloud. And somebody might say that, okay, I'm a startup, what I need to do? Or somebody say that I want both policies, So for any company coming up with their own requirement, the cloud can mold as they need and they can fit their requirement. So let's see that how this all is really possible. Now, if you look at one thing you need to understand is a very high level architecture of this, like, essential characteristics and, service models and the deployment models. And let's start from the top. Okay. Now, these are the 5 characteristics of cloud, which basically helps you to understand what is cloud about. Now, let's say that starts with the broad network access. Okay. A lot of people might thought that, okay, broad network access means anywhere accessible. Okay. Or else one to many or many to many. If you are from communication background, you have duplex, half duplex, there is kind of communication modes are there, communication channels are there. But what usually happens of broad network access means, irrespective of where you are, you should be able to consume your resource. Okay, let me give you an example, guys. My parents stays in Visakhapatnam, and I stay in Hyderabad. And if I want to book train tickets, or if I want to book a movie tickets, or if I want to book order some food for them, do I really need to be present in Visakhapatnam with my parents to do that? Once upon a time it was, but today not. With a fingertips, you have an apps, you can order it, and you can book tickets, you can do a lot of other stuff. That's exactly because irrespective of your geographical location, services allowing you to access your own resource. That's exactly called a broad network access. Okay, that is one of the beauty of your cloud, which will allow irrespective of where you are. Excuse me. And rapid elasticity. What is rapid elasticity means? Just imagine, in traditionally you have, let's say that you bought your laptop, configuration is 4 GB RAM with i5 processor with 500 GB hard disk. After a year, you realize that 4 GB RAM is not sufficient. Okay, then you want to upgrade your memory. So how smooth to upgrade that memory? That's the first question. And once it is like that, you upgraded it. After 6 months, you thought that, okay, my work is done, and now this another 4 GB is no more required for me. I want to come back to my old memory. Will it be possible? Okay, on this case, both cases I'll talk. The first case is definitely it might be looks easy, but you have to procure a new RAM, and you have to arrange or adjust your memory, and by fitting yourself, or you have to go to some technician to do that. That's okay. But when you're done your work and you remove that RAM, and wherever you bought, that guy you are going to return this or take back this memory? Not really, because you already paid for it, and they are not going to take back that. That means whatever you have a memory now, you are not going to downsize. That means you are not able to downsize efficiently or effectively, let me say that. That's exactly the issue with your traditional technologies. In traditional technologies, upscale is possible. In traditional technologies, upscale is possible, but downscale is not really been easy or possible. Sorry, guys. Yeah. So for that reason, cloud computing has really give the elasticity. So we need to understand what is elasticity. If you take an example of a rubber band, okay, if you stretch it, it will really stretch, but when you leave that band, it will come back to the same state. That is exactly called an elasticity. That means Elasticity means it should be able to upscale, and whenever you don't want, it should be able to downscale, right? In other technologies, it is not possible, but luckily in cloud, this is possible. Both ways, it has really been possible. You can upscale and you can downscale. Got it? Next is measured service. Measured service means, I want to give a classic example for you. In cloud, it's more about the multi-tenant structure, like, an apartment culture. If you look at, in apartment culture, what happens? You are going to pay some maintenance, and, a group of flats will collectively collect some money and maintenance, and they will spend that against your expenses, your building expenses, right? So that's exactly when this happens. Important thing is, because how do you know how much flat guy has been consumed, how much water? You need a reading, right? Or it can be electricity, or it can be water. Or you need a really reading. So then only you can generate a proper bill or appropriate bill. So for that, you need really some kind of billing mechanism. So in cloud, that is called a measured service. So by using this measured service as characteristics, you can really bill appropriately for the appropriate tenant without any difference. That means as much as they consume, they will get a bill. Next is on-demand self-service. This is other beauty of it. Like, I can, whenever I want, I should be able to book it. I don't want to depend on anybody else. Today I want to go to a movie. I'll open a book machine and I'll book myself. I don't want to stand in front of a queue. You do that. That's exactly an on-demand self-service. And resource pooling, this is another concept, comes into the multi-tenant concept. That means this is a pooled thing. And you can ask me that, okay, Shravan, how cloud computing is cheaper? One of the major reasons is because that is not allocated only for one guy, rather they are been sharing it. That's called a resource pooling concept. We'll go in detail in resource pooling, in virtualized world. So these are the 5 characteristics, and you can ask me those, Shravan, like, okay, these 5 characteristics are being made of cloud computing. Not really. These are the top 5, and there's a lot of other characteristics we can derive based on our requirement. Next is service models. Service models, again, here comes up, how I want and what I need it. So what exactly it means is, let's say that, let's say next month is one of your kids' birthday, or one of your known person or friend or, relative birthday. Now, to make the preparations, if you want to stitch a dress, or if you want to go to ready-made, or if you want to go hybrid kind of, so based on your skill set, based on time, based on budget, you're going to choose it. Here, service model also comes into the same place. Like, if you are really looking at, if you are already expertise in infrastructure and you can manage everything yourself, then go with IaaS, because they'll give you simple server, like, say example, EC2 instance or Linux or Windows. On top of that, whatever you want, you do it yourself, right? Like, for example, textile, go to the textile shop and take a cloth and you stitch yourself, if you are a tailor, if you have expertise, right? And if you don't have an expertise, then what happens? I don't want to manage infrastructure because I don't have a people for that. Then I'll go with PaaS layer. PaaS layer is, they'll give you solution, but you start managing yourself. They'll give you database, you manage your database. In terms of, like, you create your own tables, XYZ, you do your stuff. Okay. And last but not least is SaaS. SaaS it's like a beautification product. As soon as you take SaaS, from the day one, you can start using it. You need not to do any changes anymore. You need not to manage anything. So depends upon requirement, it depends upon where your expertise lies. You can choose any one of these models. So now you can ask me that, okay, Shravan, companies, how they choose. As I mentioned, if they have a skill set, they will go with IaaS. If they don't have a skill set, go with PaaS. If they don't want any of this, I want direct solution, then I go with SaaS product. Right. And at the same time, if you can ask in such a way that, okay, Shravan, is any company can adopt both or 3 altogether? Yes, that also can be possible. They can take IaaS, or they can take combination of this or combination of all 3. It's their wish. Last but not least is the deployment models. Now, usually in this 4 deployment models are there. One is, public. This public cloud is like, for example, you want to go from your home to airport, okay, but you want to really cost optimized. Then what you choose? You'll choose airport bus, public transport. You'll reach your destination, but very much limited cost. That's called public cloud. Okay, and private cloud is all about, I'm going to have my own car. Okay, you're getting it right. I'm going to have my own car, so that somebody will drop me using my own car. That's called a private. Excuse me. Now, guys, if you look at a lot of people misperception was, in public cloud there is no security. Okay, you might heard about this very frequently. People will, whenever you say cloud, people will talk about cloud is not secure, this issue, that issue, all things will be there. Now let me answer that. There is a quite difference between security. Let me put it like this. I hope most of who are on the call know the difference between privacy and the security. What is called privacy? In privacy, what happens is, just imagine, if I want more privacy, I'll go with my own private car, so that nobody I'm going to sit with along with me. When I want to talk with my personal, I can talk, I can take calls, I can do my own. Nobody is going to hear what I'm going to do. That's called a privacy. But if you are traveling in a public transport, if you're getting a call when you're speaking, somebody might hear that. May not be intentionally, but since you are in public, people might hear what you've been talking. So that means that is not a privacy. You are not having much privacy there. But understand one important thing. Either you go in private transport or you in public transport, you are traveling on the same road. In terms of security, almost both are same, if you ask me. Okay. So in public cloud, a lot of people say that there is no security. I don't agree with that in most of the aspects, because I agree in public cloud you may not have more privacy, but definitely security will be there. Then you can ask me that, okay, Shravan, why a lot of people are saying public cloud is not secure? The reason is people has to create an awareness. Why it is. Let me tell you a very simple question. You will have your Gmail or Hotmail or some account, right? You will have your username and password. Some example, xyz@gmail.com, and you have a password of xyz, let's say. Whenever you're logging into any application, there is an option, right? Log in with Google account, or you type your Gmail account, and if I'm not wrong, most of URL which are on the call, their Gmail passwords and their bank passwords on their any of the transaction passwords are same. Because we don't want to remember a lot of passwords, so we always tend to keep common passwords for most of the applications. That's the biggest challenge, because if one of the password got hacked, and rest of the accounts are going to be hacked. So in this case, does really public cloud or does really Gmail can do anything for you? Not really, because Gmail is providing, but the password they are allowing you to keep, and you are keeping same passwords for some other accounts or some other applications which may not be encrypted. That kind of thing, really cloud cannot do anything. But perception is, okay, my email account got hacked, so Gmail is not good, Gmail is not secure. So those kind of perceptions are not really good for cloud adoption. But those are some of the perceptions people have been really look at, and that is the reason most of the people says that public cloud is not secure. Okay, but yeah, that security is not one guy responsibility. It is a shared responsibility, and everybody has to care of it. Next is a hybrid deployment model. What is a hybrid? Hybrid is, I need a privacy, and I need costing objective of it. Then like booking a Ola or booking an Uber, like kind of stuff, because only for that ride I'm going to pay, and I'm going to have my own privacy. So if any customer is looking for those kind of solutions, then people are being best for hybrid, because they can have both public and private and commonly, and they can start serving the resources. Last but not least is a community deployment model. Community is like, if two or more companies coming together to build a solution, then if they are providing as a service, that's called a community cloud. The example could be possibly, you may heard about VCE. It is a virtual computing environment now, but before it is called VMware, Cisco, and EMC. These three companies came together and set up a company called a VCE, and they built a product called products and serve the customers. So those kind of community cloud, if two or more companies coming forward to set up something and it's providing a service oriented thing, that's called a community cloud. Now in deployment models, which one to choose? Again, as I mentioned, are you been focused more on costing? Are you focused more on privacy? Are you focused more on security? Are you focused more on agility? You customer has to decide what is their top priorities to adopt the cloud. Once they decide those priorities, then we will guide them or we will recommend them which deployment, which cloud is best suits for them. Right. So these are the basic considerations to consider to take any call or to take any setup of or decision on cloud computing. I hope everybody is following this session. If any questions, please feel free to put in Q&A or you can raise your hands. So the other thing which I want is, if you know, the question which I asked earlier, how cloud computing suits everybody, the answer is in this slide. The answer is in this slide. How this answer is in this slide? Reason is because the one of the important thing which you need to understand is because there is a lot of combinations and perceptions over here. If customer need more privacy, go with public cloud. If customer need more cost saving, public cloud. If they want both, go over hybrid cloud. Or if they have a knowledge of IaaS, go to IaaS. If they don't have a knowledge, go to PaaS. If they are luxurious and if they don't want to manage anything, they go to SaaS. They have a mix of combinations. It's only based on customer requirement, and mix all this and give one solution. So that's how the cloud computing, we call that everybody's choice. Got it? Okay, great. So what I'll do is I'll give a 5 minutes break for this session, and let's take a quick break of 5 minutes and come back, and we'll resume from where I've been left with it.
I hope you are able to see my screen. So now we are going to discuss about, if you look at in my previous deck, you saw that what kind of deployment models you have, what kind of service models you have, and how customer can leverage different deployment models or different service models. Now in this segment today we are going to see that how cloud adoption patterns are there, how customers have been looking at. Now if you look at there's a different patterns have been available. As I mentioned, why cloud is for everybody. So this is one of the reasons. If based on which customer comes up, okay, I want traditional on-premises IT. This is what the last left side last column shows that everything is self-managed. That means customer will manage. You are going to have your own private, or you are going to have your traditional data center. Everything you manage there. Okay, and if you have co-location, that means Reliance data center or Airtel data center, they have their data centers. You're going to take co-location with them, and apart from the data center, remaining everything you manage yourself. So wherever you see blue, and that is self-managed. That means where we customers are going to manage, and wherever you see dark color, which is where provider is going to manage that. So now, if I want, if the customer is coming saying that, okay, I'm having expertise on infrastructure, or at the same time I need Office 365 kind of solution, then you can have both IaaS and you can have a SaaS kind of product. But one thing you need to understand, based on what pattern you choose, your responsibility will change that. What does it mean? If you are choosing IaaS as a pattern, as a deployment model, then you are going to own data, application, databases, and operating system. That means you have to manage all these four. Remaining all four will be managed by a provider. But if you look at, if you're taking a pass, only data and application managed by you, remaining everything will be taken care by provider. And in SaaS, only data belongs to you, remaining everything will be managed by a provider. So like this, if what kind of requirement you have, what kind of skill set you have, what kind of budget you have, what kind of, those, all these form factors will contribute for you to choose which model or which pattern you have to adopt it. Okay, so like this, you can choose whatever pin you need it, and that really helps you to start as a customer centric or as a customer solution which you can give. And if you look at a public cloud adoption, and this is from the RightScale report, like AWS is much widely used public cloud provider as of today, and second stands on the Azure and third stands on the Google Cloud. If you remember, and at starting of the session, I told that AWS has set a certain benchmarking. Okay, and it really been helped us for you have a good benchmark, and remaining all cloud providers is being following through. So if you are learning in AWS, remaining things to do is not a big deal for you because they already have certain standards and they send a benchmark for it. Okay. And now let's see that, as I mentioned, as I promised you, you are going to now understand the virtualized concept, which might help you, because if you are certain from non-sysadmin or administrative background, you will definitely will help you with this. Now, if you look at what is a virtualized technologies and how you to brief it up, to keep it very simple in a very plain language, when you have your resources, if you are being virtualized your resource, that means at the same time I should be in a good position to consume your resources effectively. To give it very simple, let's say that you have a laptop. While you are using, is anybody else can use? No. At the same time, while you are driving the car, is anybody can drive the car? No. This may not be both a common example, but what I mean to say is, when you are able to virtualize it, at the same time, concurrent people should be able to use it. Now let's say that in your laptop, if you install VMware Workstation or virtual PC box and a virtual box, then you can run multiple operating systems. Then the others can use your operating system, and like kind of things can be doable. That is exactly called a virtualization. And I'll tell you the fact, virtualization is not new. The reason is you might heard about this, right? In Windows, you have called a page file. In Linux, you call it a star file. And other thing you may have heard about, in processing capabilities, you have a dual core, you have a quad core, you have an octa core, you have multi-threading. So what all this? These are all been virtualization. But the thing is, it was there for a very long time. But when it comes to reality, in the time of like 2000, 2002, it's become wide popular. But it's really been really useful, because whatever resource is sitting idle, let's say in your case, your laptop at this point of time might be using 2 GB RAM if you have 4 GB, let's say example. So remaining 2 GB is sitting idle, but you already paid for it. So how I can use those resources effectively, that's exactly virtualization is going to help you. So how virtualization is going to help you? Because it's going to create a logical pool among the resources available for you, and it's going to allocate this logical pool for your instances of VMs what you have been created for. So that's how this can use your resources very effectively. Okay, so p-virtualized mode, what used to happen? You had a server and you have operating system installed. On top of that, you install what? Libraries or bins, and on top of that, you will have an application. That means your complete server or your laptop are consumed only by this application, nothing else. So what the problem was, it's a huge cost, slow development, hard to migrate, because it's not a lift and shift. Your traditional physical world is much complex, and it's really not easy to shift and lift and shift. Now, what benefits we are getting with the virtualization? If you look at if you look at both the architectures, you have infrastructure. On top of infrastructure, here one more layer is adding. That layer is called your hypervisor layer. That hypervisor layer, you really create the pooling of your resources, and that is allowing the virtual machines to run multiple at the same time. With this, what you're going to do, you can run multiple applications in the same server by using the operating system. Okay, and this is one of the diagram, like which will help you how real virtualization works by using a VMware virtual machines. You can run and populate between the different servers. This is really help because you might not see in cloud the same thing, but they are going to use the same technology in their data centers to provide the services what you are going to get out of AWS. And this is also like how you manage centrally on traditional level. But from that leap, from last couple of years, we are hearing one more leap, which is called the container world. In container world, it is little different than what we used to do using hypervisor. It also have an infrastructure, it also have an operating system, but it is going to have your container engine. On top of container engine, it will have its own binaries, own libraries, and whatever you need for your application stack. So like this, you are isolating the process and you are making the containers run on top of your traditional operating system. So whenever new technology is coming up, it might the previous technology is not going to on such kind of thing. This both can coexist together. And with containers, what is the benefit you get? You get a cost-effective and the faster deployment, and of course guaranteed portability. Like if you want to migrate any given point of time, your container can migrate very fast, very flexible, very agile. Okay, so in the microservices, this also you might heard microservices. Now this has also become a lot of buzzword, especially in the development teams. Because earlier we used to build our applications in such a way, like standalone applications or distributed applications or cluster-based applications, this kind of application we used to build. But now people are, of course, this application still exists, but now people are looking at microservice architecture. One of the important thing is because it is like a divide and rule kind of stuff, what British has been used. So you break down all the dependencies from your core application, and you segregate of each one of this application into different component. Then you can call it an API also. Then you can if any service fails, it won't impact other service. So like this, people have been started implementing microservice in different layer, and it is complicated. You can ask me that it's driven from traditional to virtualization, virtualized to containers, containers to microservices. These are all so much easy by hearing and by all these things easy, but it is really complex. Especially when something goes wrong, it is a nightmare for us. So that's why I'm sharing all these traditional technologies for you. Reason, if you know these traditional technologies, if something goes wrong in cloud, you will be at least knowing the basics that will really help you to troubleshoot much faster. Okay. And at the same time, these microservices will help from the business standpoint, like the business scenario, and answer these questions. And each of the individual programs independently versioned, executed, and scaled. So that you won't feel if one service fails, it won't impact complete application. No, it's not going to be the case in microservices. And the monolithical versus microservices, as I mentioned, a standalone or a distributed or architecture, cluster, these are all things are there. It's monolithical. Usually, what happens? You're going to put everything in a single bucket. If single bucket has some low code, the complete application can mess up. But when coming to the microservices, what happens? You're going to keep it in different buckets. If something goes wrong, at least for that service, it might impact, but other services will work. For a classic example, I'll just tell you. When you're logging into a banking service, like an example of HDFC or ICICI or any of the bank, even though it is a control of central dashboard, but if you look at, they have a credit card system, they have a debit card system, they have a personal loan system or housing loan, whatever it is. There's a lot of integrations can be done in a single dashboard. So, for example, if they're doing any maintenance for credit card system, but still your other services will work, right? So, in the same way, in the microservices, if one service goes down, it won't impact complete application. That is the whole objective of these microservices. And e-commerce example, as I was mentioning, like, you have a different pages of, landing page, catalog page, shopping page, or checkout page. If any one page of having issue, right, other pages might work. In terms of, it's not like, differentiating it, but end of the day, you have to achieve the success of what after the payment. So for this, you can have it in different ways. Your application, you can architect. And one thing I can assure you is it would be much better and it would be much easier to design this kind of application in cloud than your traditional system. In cloud, it's very easy to design this kind of solution because you have that kind of services is already in place. We are going to look at that. So this is, I don't want to read all this, but like to keep it very simple and to keep it more understandable, what are the benefits of microservices? It is more about agility and low cost, and not less than anything else. The important thing is, it won't break as a complete application. If something goes wrong, definitely that service might impact, but not the complete application stack. So any questions, guys? Okay, so if there is no questions, we are good. I can proceed with next module. See, in this module, we are going to focus more on the infrastructure as a code, because in traditional data center space or traditional IT architecture space, the automation is not new for any one of us who are on the call. They might heard sometimes they might use, sometimes they might develop also. But in infrastructure as a code, what comes up is how you can completely converge your infrastructure as a code by using certain services. And at the same time, how you can completely help your cloud journey to pick up faster and much smoother for the transition time. So, you can automate serverless computing, provision data centers through machine readable definitions, code everything continuously. This all are the process which you can follow as the best practices to achieve as your end goal to adopt the cloud computing. If any one of this you start, like, we always say that whenever there is something that's repeatable, please automate it. It can be a shell script, it can be a Python script, or it can be Java, or it can be any language which you are comfortable and it supports. So you can use your extensive requirement and you can automate. So what happens in AWS, especially or in cloud, is all are possible. Each one of this you can take it and you can start doing it immediately. There is no time for okay, I need to do prerequisite, I need to do this, I need to do that. No, it is a pretty straightforward. You can start even from today to start doing it. And the futuristic technologies looks like, if you want to do all this, like, DevOps is coming into place. DevOps is, if you remember in my, at least like, half an hour, 1 hour before, which I've been said that traditional systems are silo teams, and if you want to break that silo and keep it all teams together, DevOps is the way to go. Because in DevOps, you're going to get more of dev and operations together to make your business successful in terms of, whether it's a deployment, whether it is a testing, or whether it is code analysis, or whatever your requirement as part of your traditional process. So in DevOps, this is the way you can do it, like, code or plan or build or monitor and continuous testing or continuous integration or continuous deployment. You can do a lot of stuff. So now you can either the DevOps can be done only with cloud. I would say with cloud it can coexist far better than your traditional systems, because since the capability of self-service model is the biggest achievement and biggest takeaway for your cloud, so that it can greatly echo with your DevOps. Okay, so this is, you might see this movie called a Wall-E. Wall-E, like, if you see this is going to be future. I can see that. You can sit in your seat without standing and you can order whatever, you can do whatever you want by the screen. Like, this is what's been happening, but this is not good for a human being of an existence, but for unfortunate reasons, this is what people have been expecting it. And data analytics and big data, these are the trending technologies which have been happening. Like, large volume of data and structured or unstructured or derived sets. Because now with so much of data in place and so much of technologies in place and so much of things have been required, let me tell you guys, what has been changed tremendously. If you ask me, we as a customer got changed. If you look at, if I'm not wrong, in 2008 or 9, I ordered a phone via e-commerce. That's my first phone ordered via e-commerce. Before that, I used to go to shop and buy it, but that time I took a risk and bought a phone on e-commerce portal. Okay, so that time what was my requirement was at least product should reach, because during that time when I'm paying money through card or debit card or credit card, I don't know to whom I'm paying with. Whether I don't know that vendor exists or not, where that vendor will be, which state, if he is not selling the product, how I need to catch him, There's a lot of questions on my mind. But I took a risk and I ordered it. Of course, by fortunately it got delivered it. But what was my requirement that time? That time is at least product should reach me. But today, if I'm ordering it online, what is my requirement? I'm asking for to deliver me next 1 hour. I'm asking to deliver in next 2 hours. That is what we changed. So now in this complete cycle, who got changed? We as a customer got changed. And at the same time, we as a customer got matured. Now customers are much matured. They have a lot of internet has been enabled so much, and now before they're calling us, they're reading and they're calling us. Right. So for all this, there is a lot of technologies coming and to keep up to date and to help these transitions. One among them is analytics and big database coming to place. So any questions, guys, so far? If there is no questions, since this is first day, I don't want to continuously talk for hours of hours. But I'll give back you another close to 40 minutes time back to you, and we can definitely start again same time tomorrow at 7 p.m. IST, and I can take it from there. Okay. So any questions before we sign off for today? Okay, fine, guys. Thanks for attending today's session, and I hope you enjoyed it. And if you have any questions, we can meet tomorrow. Have a great day. Thank you.